guys, I'm Seth. This is going to be my first attempt at doing a little bit of a fly tying video. It's not going to be an instructional type video. It's basically just going to be me cranking out a few flies while drinking a couple beers. So yeah, if you want to just sit tight and we'll get into it. Today what we're going to be cranking out is a few of these, I call them a bulletproof sowbug pattern. It's a soft hackle sow. Pretty much everything that I try and make these things as durable as possible. I've had several days where I've gone 20 plus fish on one fly, and I think it all comes down to how you construct it. I could definitely tie these faster if I was to skip some of these steps, but I think it helps to make them as durable as you can. Pretty much these are my go-to nymph pattern. If I'm nymphing a tailwater, I'll usually do a 2-fly rig, typically drop shot, with this one on the bottom and either another sowbug or scud above it, or a lot of the times I'll do a small green baetis. So, start out for my body, I just put some small copper wire in. And I like to use a dubbing loop for the body on my sowbugs. Close that off. I like to have my sowbug bodies be pretty neat, so I don't just take the dubbing and just stuff it in there. I actually spread the two pieces of thread from the loop, the two sides of the loop apart. I do a hare's ear dubbing for most of my sowbugs. And I'll put the dubbing on one of those individual strands of that loop, just like as if I was just normally using the dubbing. Alright, so I got the two strands, dubbing on one side, no dubbing on the other. Spin it up. Makes a real tight rope of dubbing that makes for nice, neat, tight bodies. And a real durable body as well. Wrap that forward. So I get up to the front like that, I'll get my thread holder out of the way, tie that off. Alrighty. And then I'll rivet with that wire, add a little bit extra protection, additional durability to the pattern. Just helicopter that off. Alrighty, now for the CDC, or sorry, for the soft hackle, I typically use CDC. I think it flows better than a lot of other materials. It has a lot more motion, I feel, than some partridge. I use partridge for a lot of my soft hackles, but I like CDC. And the CDC I'm going to be using is actually from a few geese that shot a few days ago. If you guys are goose hunting, if you're goose hunters and you're not keeping the CDC, you need to start, because it's some of the highest quality. The Canada Goose CDC is some of the highest quality stuff I've found. Alrighty. I use one of these hairline feather preppers to get her set up. So I've got her in there and throw her in the clip. Alrighty. Get her all spun up and we'll get going on this collar here. I like to make my collars as thick as possible. These CDC fibers are not the most durable, so I like to overdo it to start, because after a few fish it's going to get thinned out, and so essentially just after a few fish it'll look better and better. Alrighty, quick, just one turn hand whip finish is typically enough on these, because I'm going to come back with some hard as nails solar resin to finish her off. This stuff's super thin, so when you're using the CDC you want to be careful not to get in the actual CDC. It'll wick up into the CDC and kind of ruin it. So there's that. The thing about these CDC fibers from these goose CD feathers is they're pretty long. So I just pull them back and I just trim them off like that. I don't care if they look all blunt. The more you fish it, the more natural it's gonna look. So there's one, we'll crank out a few more of them. A little bit of my background in fly fishing. I've just regular spin cast fish since I was as young as I can remember. When I was about 12 years old is when Dad's friend took me on a drift boat, and it was the first time I ever saw fly fishing, and started out about then. It's also when I started tying flies. It's when I was about 12. And now I'm 28, and it's pretty well the only way I fish anymore. I kind of jokingly say that I'm 4 years sober from spin casting. Haven't touched a spinning rod. Not that I have anything against it, just prefer to prefer to do it with the fly rod, just like I'm sure most of you kind of on the same page. What did I do with that dubbing? There we go. There it is. Alrighty, same thing. Splitting those two leads. Little explanation of the name I've chosen for this YouTube channel. First part's obvious, my name's Seth, so that's why Seth is in the name. And then I am an abnormally tall person, 6'10". Yes, I did play basketball. Played high school basketball, and then after that moved on to college. Played at 3 different colleges, all in the western United States. Fortunate enough to be born and raised in the western United States. So Squatch just comes from that abnormal height. These are quick box filler type flies. They really take no time at all to crank out. I typically, if I'm going on a bigger, more than just a few day trip, if it's gonna be on a tailwater, I'll usually bring at least 12 of these guys. But like I've been saying about the durability, a lot of the time you can use one fly for an entire day. I like to have a few of them though to give out to buddies. Not all my friends that fly fish tie their own stuff. I like seeing my buddies catch flies on the stuff I crank out. My preference in fly fishing is, just like most people I'm sure, is dry flies. I also really enjoy streamer fishing. But if none of that's working, I'm not above throwing a drop shot rig, dredging the bottom for some of those picky fish. A lot of times in these tailwaters out west, they'll be really keyed in on these smaller subsurface flies, and that'll be just about the only way to catch fish a lot of the days. sure what happened there, but it fell apart on me, so I guess I'll have to grab another feather. I like using this loom diving loop tool. It's got a lot of weight to it. Spins things up real nice and tight. Right now, I'm not sure time of year it is when people are going to be watching this, if anybody is even going to watch this, but it's the end of December here, or I mean, sorry, it's the beginning of December. Big game season here just ended. I was not very successful in terms of harvesting deer and elk. Went out, got out into the mountains quite a bit. Had some great days out there. But the animals definitely won this year. I ended up getting one mule deer doe, no buck, no elk. But that's how she goes sometimes. Just means I gotta get after the geese a little bit more. Ended up crowding the head on this one a bit. On that whip finish might be a little tough there. But yeah, I don't classify it as a bad hunting season. We got out, we got lots of days in the field. Great public land opportunities out west out here. Got into bulls a few times, just no, weren't fortunate enough to harvest any of them. Great to get out there, see them, see a new country though. These obviously aren't the prettiest of flies, but as a lot of fly fishermen know, it's not always the pretty flies that catch fish. Being as it's December, there's still a little bit of dry fly action going on the tailwaters. Streamer fishing is a hit or miss. Some days it's great, some days it's a little slow. But being is that it is December, main thing is just being careful and making sure you're leaving those brown trout alone on their reds, being vigilant and just making sure you're not bullying any of those fish that are creating the next generation. In this state that I'm in, there is no stocking on rivers and streams. So the spawn is the only thing that's getting us fish. I kind of prefer it that way. Seems to, from all the reading I've done on it, it seems that stocking over wild populations tends to only have negative outcomes. But I'm not a biologist. I just know that wild fish tend to be a lot healthier looking and a lot better looking. Go. Nope. Popped out of the vise on me, that'll happen. Luckily. Oh man. This isn't going to be a glamorous fly tying video, but that's how it goes sometimes. Luckily, nothing damaged as a result in terms of the fly. Kept itself from unraveling. Get that dummy loop tied off. So on this channel, from what I first see, it'll probably be a lot of fly tying, maybe some short videos of actual fishing, maybe some long videos of some of the bigger trips, and then maybe a little hunting as well. I have a homemade pickup camper that I built this summer. I pretty much lived in it the entire last month, being as that it was hunting season. All my weekend days were spent in it. I like clipping these little guys out just because it makes it look prettier for me, and not necessary. It's a ugly fly anyway, but I like nice, neat bodies on my flies. But like I was saying, I have a homemade pickup camper I built this summer. I might make a video on that in case there's folks that are interested in doing it themselves as well. Basically, I had a 1980s pickup camper the last couple of years, but that died last elk season in a tragic accident in the mountains. Not really too bad, just one of the jacks went out when I was removing it from the pickup. That was about an hour and a half down National Forest 2-track roads at the time, which didn't make the situation any better. And needless to say, I got it out of the mountains, but it was no longer a functioning camper after that. And so I was in the market again this spring for a camper. Didn't see anything I quite liked that quite matched up with all of my wants and needs. I really just basically wanted a minimalistic camper without any of the extra stuff that in a pickup camper, in my opinion, just takes up space. Like I was saying, I'm a pretty big guy, and so I'd rather have extra space for myself than extra space for cabinets and such. So I built my own, real minimalistic, pretty much just a bed and a wood stove or an AC, depending on what time of year it is. Alrighty. I think this might be the prettiest one of the batch. So, I think I'm going to end it with this one. There it is, 3 of my bulletproof CDC soft hackle sowbugs. First episode of Late Night Ties with Seth the Squatch. Hope you guys liked it. It'll be a work in progress. Hopefully it'll get better and better as we go, but there you go. Thanks for watching.